In today's 5-Minute Gardener, a couple weeks ago we had a hard freeze. Lots of folks who didn't take precautions lost precious plants and tender citrus. Our 5-Minute Gardener, Debbie Mounts from Harlow Gardens, shows us some citrus that can take the cold.
Okay, good afternoon. Well, it's that time of the year when we look at our garden and think about the cold. A couple of weeks ago we had our first real test of some serious cold in our gardens. And one of the things that can get hit the most in our gardens is your citrus trees and or bushes, whichever you may have. And so I'm going to show you some citrus trees today that are really troopers. They can take a lot of cold. Our citrus trees in the nursery we generally protect. We put them in a shade house that's covered and protected and heated. But these guys we leave out in the cold and don't ever cover them. That just tells you how tough they are. So here I'm going to start here to my right. Now this is called a calamandan. Commonly, it's very common in the Philippines, used for cooking and things, and it's known as calamansi in the Philippines. For those of you who may know about that, it's a great tree, takes all the cold you want to give it, and it just looks really beautiful. It gets pretty big. It gets to be a good sized tree, so it's a really decorative tree in your garden. Next, right next to the calamandan, I have two different types of kumquats. Now, kumquat is a funny fruit. It's a fruit that often the flesh, the fruit part of the fruit, the inside part, is very tart and very sour, and the skin is the part that's sweet. So the way that you eat these guys is you pop them in your mouth and you chew, and I always tell customers the faster you chew, the sweeter it gets, because you're getting the sweet from the skin. I have two different types here. I have a Nagami kumquat and I have a Miwa kumquat. And the Nagami is the one that you'll mostly find. You'll find those in the stores. It's a little football-shaped kumquat, very tart, really good flavor. And then the Miwa is about the same size, but it's a little round kumquat, and it's definitely much sweeter. So the flesh on the Miwa and the skin are sweeter than the Nagami, but both of them have really great flavor, and they can take all the cold that you want to throw at them. So if you have a cold spot in your yard, or if you're in a colder area of town, these guys might be the guys for you. All right, thanks a bunch.
That's a really good idea. Now, you know, you plant things that will survive the temperatures that you're in better. That makes sense.
Right. When customers come in, sometimes they tell us, because we may forget to ask, but lots of times we will ask them, well, what part of town do you live in? If you live near a wash, because cold settles. Heat rises and cold settles. So if you're down near the wash, generally, if Jeff or Jimmy says it's going to be 35 degrees, you might be 28 or 29. And that's really important information to have at the nursery. We know that if you guys say it's going to be 35 or 36, we have to cover. Because over the years we've learned that we're about 4 or 5 degrees colder for whatever reason. And of course we have to protect things at the nursery.
Yeah, and that's usually temperature at the airport, so obviously.
Yes, and there's a lot of heat thrown at the airport too.
And Debbie, is there a difference with citrus that's planted in the ground versus pots? Does it tend to be hardier in pots?
Not necessarily. The thing about pots, you can plant any citrus you want in a pot. And if you need to protect it from the cold, the nice thing about a pot is you can put it on a dolly and you can roll it into the garage or wherever it needs to be. In the ground, of course, it's not, you can't exactly do that. But in the ground, lots of times the volume of soil helps protect it. Sometimes people will, for protection in a pot, will wrap the pot, because the most important part of the tree is the root system. They'll wrap it with layers of newspaper or batting, or just to provide a little extra protection.
So it's possible that stuff that looks really nasty in the garden right now is actually still alive.
Yes.
And just waiting to come back. So don't be quick with the scissors to cut.
Don't be quick with the scissors, because that little browned out part on the stem is actually protecting. You know, if this is the stem, this part may have frozen. This part may still be green. If you cut that off, then you're exposing what's still green to more freeze that may come along.
And we will have another one.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. January is like famous for that. So just leave it be. I know it's hard to look at, but leave it until you just can't stand it anymore.
Okay, thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, same to you.
Well,